You can design your cover, which we just went out to a location that had a pretty looking field and we just took a picture by the side of the road. If you're a musician looking to record and release your very own album, well, today's video is for you. I've got some recommendations for you to not only physically release a CD like this, but also if you want to get your music up on Apple Music and Spotify, this video is for you. I want to detail the process as much as possible since this is a rather recent journey that my wife and I just went through in the past month as we released this hymns album. First things first, if you're new to the channel, I want to say welcome. My name is Chris Green. This entire channel exists to give you practical tips for playing and recording music. Many of the videos already on my channel talk about how to record your first song using PreSonus Studio One. So my first recommendation to you, other than hit the like and subscribe buttons as we go forward, is to consume as much information as you can on YouTube. If you are a musician and you know how to play your instrument, if you're a singer and you know how to sing, the way that you can add some versatility and some depth to your knowledge is to gain as much information as you can about the recording process. You don't have to become an engineer, but in 2024, it's very valuable that you know how to record yourself, even if it's just a little bit. If you're hoping that you're gonna land a record deal or somebody's just gonna give you a bunch of money to record an album, that may or may not happen, but most likely in the year 2024, it's very valuable that you learn how to do as many things as possible on your own. It doesn't mean that in this entire process, it wouldn't have been better for me to hire someone that's a professional to do it for me. I am personally wired to where I'm curious enough that I want to learn how to do things on my own. I can try, I can fail, I can try again, and I can succeed, okay? I like having that path of constantly becoming better and better at what I do. So my biggest recommendation to you is to, number one, make use of YouTube, subscribe to this channel, and look for other channels as well in music production to just learn as much as you can about recording and mixing music. So now we need to get into gear and software recommendations. Now, of course, I'm gonna talk about PreSonus Studio One because the majority of my channel is how to do things in PreSonus Studio One. And if you just don't have any gear of your own, I wanna recommend that you look for a 2-channel USB audio interface. Now, the most affordable of these that I can recommend to you is called the AudioBox 96 from PreSonus. This is a USB audio interface. Now, most of the time, audio interfaces differ on how many inputs and outputs they have. This is about as simple as it gets. They also have audio interfaces from companies like Focusrite. This one particular used to be $100, and for $100 you would get this, and you would also get the software, which was PreSonus Studio One Artist. This box allows you to plug in microphones. You can plug in 2 microphones, you can plug in a guitar and a microphone, and basically the other end of it has a USB cable that connects to your computer. So if you want to get music from real life spaces and you want to record them onto your computer, you need to have an audio interface of some sort. Now, recording this specific hymns album that my wife and I did not use the AudioBox 96, but I did use this UAD Apollo Twin X. This is a much more expensive audio interface. It has much more features and it's a little bit better when it comes to the conversion quality. It doesn't mean that you can't possibly record an album using an audio box. You can certainly do that, but over time, as you get more and more acquainted with engineering, you're gonna start wanting to spend more and more money on higher quality equipment. So for our album, I specifically use this Apollo Twin X. It is a Thunderbolt audio interface, but it essentially does the same thing that this audio box does, just a little bit better in certain areas. All right, now we need to talk about software. My biggest recommendation to you is called PreSonus Studio One. As I mentioned before, I've got a video on my channel, how to record your first song using PreSonus Studio One. Now, they are having newer versions of the software being released all the time. And I don't want to get into this with this video, but they have talked about they are going to be discontinuing the artist version of the software. So my biggest recommendation to you is to find an audio box or find a 2-channel USB audio interface that has software included. That might be Ableton Live, the light version or the introductory version of the software, or you might want to go for a subscription plan where you can cancel any month that you want to. So if you sign up with a subscription plan, you usually get the full version of whatever software. PreSonus Studio One have a subscription plan, but don't sign up for the annual plan unless you're really sure that you're gonna stick with it. You might wanna just try for a month, see how you do, and then you can always upgrade. Now, personally, for our album, I use PreSonus Studio One Professional version 6, and I've always been a fan of the perpetual license. I don't want to think about having to pay a subscription plan. I usually just budget out for having the newest version of the software. So the software is really what's going to allow us to mix the music that we're recording. So if you're used to seeing a mixer in a live sound situation, you have faders, you have different elements like EQ and compression. All of that stuff you'll need to be learning as you go on YouTube on how to get up and running with mixing and plugins. Now, software, I don't think it differs that much when it comes to your results. So I have used previously Logic and Ableton, and I have used Pro Tools as well as Studio One. The only differences I could tell between the software was your interaction with it. I do find that Studio One and Logic are a lot more beginner friendly, which is why I talk about it so much on this channel. If you're getting into Pro Tools and you're getting into Ableton, some of this software is a little bit clunky when you get up and running, but it's good to know how to use all of them if possible. Now, as you're recording your music and you're thinking about your album, I highly recommend you start using presets. Now, presets in PreSonus Studio One are very easy to create. You have a little drop-down menu. You can create presets for your lead vocal, your background vocals. This album itself is meant to be like an acoustic modern version of classic hymns. So we have acoustic guitars, piano, a box drum, a banjo, a mandolin, and several background vocals. But from song to song, I tried to use presets as much as possible. So that way I had a consistency across each of my tracks. Now in PreSonus Studio One, there is a project page. On the project page, this is where you can, in real time, bounce between song to song on your project or your album to make sure that you're getting similar mixes and also similar volumes. Because when you put your CD or when you're streaming music on your phone, if you're doing an album or collection together, it's not that every album or every song needs to have the exact same mix, but they do need to sound like they're cohesive with each other. And that's what we tried to do with this album. So production-wise, your audio interface, your software, that's where you're going to be mixing your stuff. But let's talk about microphones. Now, like I said, the songs on our album were mainly acoustic. So there were two microphones I used for pretty much every song. The first one is this Neumann TLM 103. This is a large diaphragm condenser microphone. And then also this is the Shure SM7B. This is a large diaphragm dynamic microphone. If you're not happy with your results from the Shure SM7B, you might want to look into getting a cloud lifter. This will add about 10 decibels of gain to the SM7B, so you don't have to crank your audio interface up quite as much. If you're using something like the Audio Box or a more affordable audio interface, highly recommend that if you have an SM7B, make sure you get a cloud lifter as well. The TLM 103 is a much more expensive microphone, but you definitely don't have to spend this much money on a large diaphragm condenser microphone. For years and years, we used the Rode NT2A, which is relatively the same price as the SM7. Get your hands on a affordable large diaphragm condenser microphone. This will, of course, plug into your audio box or your audio interface so that you can record music. My next recommendation to you is that you get a great pair of studio headphones. These are the Shure SRH 1840s. These are open back headphones, so they're not specifically made for recording music, but when it comes to mixing and you're trying to make sure that everything sounds great, get a pair of open back headphones. Sennheiser also makes a great pair as well, but I would highly recommend you spend money on these before you go the route of studio monitors. When you get studio monitors, you're gonna go down a rabbit hole of trying to acoustically treat your room. You're gonna start hanging up things on drywall, you're gonna put clouds up, and that may be a good route for you to take, but it's also very expensive, and you also most of the time you end up not being happy with the results anyway, so just get yourself a pair of headphones and you'll be fine. This entire album that we recorded, it is an acoustic album. There's nothing particularly fancy going on with the mix, but it was all done using this pair of headphones. Okay, now assuming you've learned how to record your music, you have mixed your music, and you feel like you're ready to release your music, here are some recommendations I have for you. Now, first and foremost, you want to digitally release your music. In 2024, unless you're doing a bunch of tours or farmers markets, not many people are using CDs, so first and foremost, let's cover the digital release process. My biggest recommendation to you is that you familiarize yourself with DistroKid, okay? DistroKid is a distribution service that you pay for, okay? So in the link of the description of this video, this is not sponsored, but this is an affiliate link from DistroKid that you can get up and running. Here are the prices. So we personally use DistroKid for $40 a year. $40 a year allows you to upload an unlimited amount of songs to DistroKid. So if you're an artist and you want your music on Spotify, you want it on Apple Music and other places as well, basically you upload your music, you upload your files or your masters to DistroKid, you add some album art, you add some lyrics, you put information about who the songwriter is, who is going to be sharing revenue with you, and then DistroKid takes your music and uploads it to as many platforms as you'd like, okay? So my wife and I did this with Spotify and iTunes, Apple Music, all of that kind of stuff. The biggest thing you need to know about DistroKid is that all of the stats about how many streams you're getting and how much you're getting from sales of your digital album, there is up to a 2-month delay on the update. So if you upload your music in June, do not expect to find out how many you sold until at least August and maybe even September. Okay, this is a rather long process, so if you're used to getting that immediate affirmation of how many streams you have, how many sales do you have, you can go some different routes. But with DistroKid, they make it super simple and that's very cheap for you to be able to upload your music. You can even upload cover songs. So with a cover song, somebody else wrote that song and it is not considered public domain. You can actually apply each song to have its own cover song license. So this specifically costs an extra $12. So if you upload an album of 12 songs and one of those is a cover song, you can still upload and distribute it with DistroKid, most likely, but they basically cover the back end for you. So they go and they secure a cover song license for that song. You will have to share the revenue with whoever originally wrote that song. I'm not sure what the split is specifically, but when you pay your $40 for your album to go up, your unlimited music uploads for the year, just know that every time you upload a cover song, that's gonna be an additional $12. So if you're somebody that only does cover songs, I would highly recommend you just stick to uploading your songs to sites like YouTube and not charging money for those just yet. Unless you have a really successful cover song, you may want to make some money back for it. It's usually not going to pan out to just upload an entire album of cover music unless you know you're going to hit a certain amount of sales. Now you can also go the route of uploading your music to your personal website. So I am using Shopify, and mainly I'm using Shopify because of its integration with YouTube. So here on YouTube, below all of my YouTube videos, you will see a link to my wife's physical CD, also the digital download if you're interested in that. And it conveniently integrates with YouTube very well. Now with Shopify, I'm spending about $30 a month to keep that website up. They do allow you to have your own domain. So like personally, we use greenfamilymusic.com. That is our domain that we bought through Shopify. All of my website hosting stuff is done through Shopify. That may be too expensive for you. You can check out all these sorts of sites like Bandcamp or just have a YouTube channel of your own. But if you are looking to have your own website and make sales, I highly recommend Shopify if you want to check them out. Now let's talk about CDs, okay? It is still relevant to get CDs in 2024, particularly if you're doing the live music, if you're doing any sorts of concerts, or like my wife and I, we often do farmers markets. We have a little table set up and we can sell CDs at those, okay? People still listen to CDs. And my wife and I also, we drive a 2021 vehicle. It does come loaded with a CD player, so it's still around, it's still sort of relevant, but you know, I wouldn't recommend it being your #1 source for distributing your music. I use CD Baby. So CD Baby has 2 different platforms. They have CD Baby and then CD Baby Manufacturing. CD Baby Manufacturing is where you're going to go to have these jewel cases and CDs printed and delivered, okay? CD Baby has a service that's very similar to DistroKid, and if you don't want to use DistroKid, you can check out CD Baby as well. They'll upload your music to iTunes, Amazon Music, all that kind of stuff as well. So you might want to check out CD Baby if you're looking for just one place altogether. Now, CD Baby Manufacturing is where you're going to give options for your jewel case. So this is a jewel case with a 2-panel design. 2-panel design is basically referring to this card that's on the inside of the jewel case flap. So if you decide to go this route, you can design your cover, which we just went out to a location that had a pretty looking field and we just took a picture by the side of the road. And then on the inside, you can write a little message. So this is basically from my wife to everyone. It's got information on there if they want to contact her about doing some music in the future. And then the cover of your CD, we just went with a very basic, you may not be able to see that on the video, but you can see it says Lana Green. It's got the title of the Hymns album. And then on the back, we just designed this to be the track listing. So this is the 2-panel jewel case design. And they'll also have options if you want to have like a booklet and you want to have like multiple flaps. You can also have an option to have this stuff shrink wrapped for you. So this one right here is still sealed. So when people buy this, it just seems a little more professional to have that stuff shrink wrapped already for you. Now, the barcode that is on the back, this is actually from DistroKid. So when you upload your music, upload it to either CD Baby or DistroKid, and make sure you have the ISRC or barcode on your product, because you can take that barcode number, and when you go to CD manufacturing with CD Baby, they will ask you for your barcode number. And if you put that in, they will include this. You can add it onto your jewel case as well. So when people scan it, it will track how much sales you're getting. So if you're interested in going platinum or gold or whatever it is, and you want to have one of those big plaques made, you're going to want to make sure you make use of the barcode as much as possible so that it tracks the inventory. So you're probably wondering how much all of this stuff ended up costing. So CD Baby Manufacturing, to get 100 CDs printed in jewel cases with the shrink wrap art included, it was roughly $375 for us to have done. Now, if you're thinking about selling your album for $10 or $15, you can do the math yourself. You're already spending about $4 per CD just to have it printed. You make about $6 off of each sale, but then you also got to factor in things like DistroKid. So if you spent $40 on the annual plan and then you spent another $12 on a cover song license or any of those other fees, if you bought your audio interface, if you bought your microphones, if you bought the Studio One software, or if you paid somebody to mix and master the music for you, it's going to be quite difficult for you to make up or have some sort of heavy margin on your product. So my biggest recommendation to you is that, number one, you save up as much money as you can. Maybe if you're doing a live show or a concert, you can do some sort of benefit program where, like, I don't know, you take up a collection or something and people can basically say, hey, I want to pay for my CD up front. We did not go that route because I personally don't want to be on the hook that if something had gone wrong in the recording process, let's say my wife develops some sort of vocal disease, I don't want to be on the hook for having sold so many albums. So the route that we're going is we got 100 CDs printed. We are selling them on our Shopify website, and we're also going to be doing the farmers markets that are local to our town. Okay, so that's the route we're going. Once we sell a certain amount of CDs, we can have more CDs printed. On CD Baby Manufacturing, they give you an option to reorder if you want to increase the quantity, but it also takes about 2 to 3 weeks for them to ship your CDs to your house. So keep that in mind. So time frame wise, of course, you want to learn as much as you can on YouTube, gain as much knowledge about recording and mixing as you can. Then look for your audio interface. Your audio interface should come with some software like PreSonus Studio One Artist version. Get up and running with your software, record, mix your music as much as possible. If you don't know how to record and mix, just make sure you hit the subscribe button. Channels like this will help you out along the way. And then you want to distribute your music. First and foremost, upload to something like DistroKid or CD Baby, because that also takes some time for them to distribute your music to all these platforms. If you're going to upload your music and you're expecting to release it next week, it's probably too soon. You need to give it a good 4 or 5 weeks for them to get it to all the platforms, for everything to be signed off and legalized, and then it will be ready for when you have your launch date. There's a lot of stuff covered in today's video. Again, I just want to recommend you hit the like and subscribe buttons for more videos just like this, and let me know in the comment section any of these areas that you'd like for me to expand on in the future. It'd be terrible of me to do this whole video without mentioning, if you're interested in getting a CD, check the links in the description of this video. Go to greenfamilymusic.com. We are taking orders right now. Free shipping in the United States. If you're interested in any of this stuff, check it out on the website. Also, if you go to YouTube, look for Lana Green Music. My wife's channel is up and growing, so help her out. Go on over and hit the subscribe button, listen to some music, and then of course, check back here for more videos just like this. Thanks for watching.